And then like in world history, oh my God, today was, bro, cause okay, so this whole week we've been like researching. So so we're having okay, so so this is what it is. It's 1962, and there's Vietnam, the USSR, and NATO and America and whatnot. I was made the U.S. president. I was hyped. I'm like, bet I'm the U.S. president. You know, I think it was gonna be chill. It was not. Cause so the way the class was is that it was sectioned off, right? Where like there was the four
Segregation.
corners and there was North Vietnam, South Vietnam, the USSR, uh, um, then America, and then there was some media people that were at like alone tables and like there was NATO at like at a lone table, stuff like that, right? And and when so we it's 1962 and it's the Cold War, so we're trying to so our goals were to like resolve the wars in Vietnam, nukes, and basically stopping communism.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically you can go about this however you want. Like if you want nuclear war, it's nuclear war. It's whatever you want.
Wait, that's such a
But
fire idea though for a final.
so
That sounds so
no, not
fun.
for a final. It was for our major grade though,
But
and
that
we did
sounds
it
so
today.
fun.
It was so fun because that's like one of the few classes that like everybody likes me and I like everybody. So
Oh, so that's fire though.
so like I knew everybody in that class. So we all just talk. So there was a big middle table. This was the world discussion table. Like when you want to go meet up with one of the other countries, you go meet up with them. And bro, it would just be a discussion and back and forth, back and forth. And like we would draw up contracts and sign them.
Wait,
And
that's so fun. What the fuck?
so the first meeting was about so the first meeting I decided I called up Russia. I said we need to have a meeting. So we had a meeting about that our nuclear we're both too strong in nuclear power and the war tensions are growing too much and we both don't want it. So we made it and signed a contract saying no more wars and no more attacking like allies like it just peace all over. You know, because USSR was the main problem, and then I was the main solution, but it would just cause more problems. So we just solved it there. And then we also decided to stop making nukes. Like we could keep our bombs and keep our current nukes, but just stop production of nukes. You know. So we
Okay.
did that. That was the first meeting, and then I had a second meeting with I called up the South Vietnam because the Cold War we were helping South Vietnam to take over North Vietnam. That was a Vietnam War, right? Because North Vietnam was communism.
This was like the Cold
Eh,
War, yeah.
yeah. So I ended up so I had a long chat with South Vietnam and North Vietnam about what we want, what we want to resolve, this and that. North Vietnam, they're not siding with the USSR. They don't have any, they're not allies, they don't have any type of agreements or nothing, but they just like communism. So that was kind of like their thing. They're just, and it even came to a point where I told them to shush and why are you fighting for communism? And then it's like, they got upset that I shushed them, bro. And then, and then, and it came to an conclusion that Vietnam was just being a little shit. So I ended up making South Vietnam. So first I was being a really good president. For me, I don't want any nuclear war. I don't want any war at all. I didn't like that tension. I didn't like my people dying. So so this was before we went into Vietnam. So I told South Vietnam that I'm not putting my men out there. I'm not having my Americans die for your little war with the North. So,
Right.
so we made an agreement that I'm not putting my men out there, but I'm still your ally, so I'm still gonna help you by sending you money, sending you bombs, this and that, whatever you need. But I'm not putting my men out there. We had that first agreement, and then that was all we resolved at the time. We sat back down. We all had our little discussions at our own tables, with our own countries. I had my secretary of defense and my propaganda girl, and then my CAA guy showed up late. He showed up late to class, bro. And, and he wasn't much help. He just sat there. So it was really just me and my propaganda girl. Oh yeah, I really liked it. Yeah, for the propaganda team and the media team, they would listen to our discussions and everything, and they would put propaganda and be like, America and Vietnam resolve their problems or this and that. Like they would put stuff up on the board and like people would read them and to see what's actually going on,
So like you
right?
could see what other, let's say like you're another country, not the Russia, not Vietnam, not South
Mm,
Vietnam, and you're looking at it and you're like, oh shit, that's what they're doing.
yeah.
That's what the
Like
propaganda was
like
for.
you see, and
Oh.
there was also spies, but I don't think the spies were doing the job. They were just sitting around.
I
Um,
don't get what a spy would do because you would kind of know. Like that's kind of a
the
stupid
spy was
idea.
just supposed to kind of like listen to like what the other country was saying and then try to give intel, but it didn't. I don't know. I don't think the spies actually even were spies. They didn't do anything. Okay.
No.
So then after I still stayed allies with South Vietnam. I didn't want my people to die, but I said I would still help them. And then it came to the point where so I already had my agreement with the USSR. So, but then the USSR wanted to help North Vietnam because they're also communist. But then, so then it was a meeting at the table with all of us. It was all the countries and everything. And then it was chaos. And then it came to a point where then I was just saying that if you help them, then our treaty's off because that's going against what we talked about. Our first meeting was, not to fight each other, no ally fighting, no nothing like that. So they never really made a deal, but they talked about it, right? So then,
Right.
towards the end of class, I came to a thing where it was, the reason it was also getting tense with the USSR again was that I was helping out South Vietnam still, and they didn't like that. Even though they didn't have an agreement with North Vietnam, they still didn't like that. So what I did just to resolve it and to hopefully stop that war, I just I just made South Vietnam the 51st state. I just
Nigga, are
I
you dead ass?
Yes, and the teacher lied. I said, "Can I do that?" And he said, "Sure." And I made South Vietnam the 51st state that their leader agreed on it. He said, "Okay, that it would solve their problem." So
Wait, that's a
I
low-key a fire idea. I
I
ain't gonna
I
lie.
I made them the 51st state, and 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 it stopped for a little while, and then the USSR still was talking a little bit with North Vietnam. So right now, I don't know if it's gonna continue Monday, but where it ended off is that I made South Vietnam the 51st state, and that North Vietnam, they're being little shits and they won't stop. So and since there's no
Kinda gotta nuke
agreement,
North
and,
Vietnam.
and since there's no agreement with the USSR yet, and I don't want any wars at all with the USSR because that would be terrible. So before they make an agreement, if from what I told everybody, if North Vietnam doesn't stop, I'm gonna have to go in there and fuck up some niggas, make them the 52nd state, and then you know, and
Yo.
then what is USSR gonna do after that? They can't stop us because then we already have our agreement, and then we'll have even more power. There's no point of fighting someone like that. So right now, I've from my people
Wait, so
and
like,
some of the
please tell
media
me that
people.
the.
They say I'm doing a really good job. Like it's actually like my teacher said like that was like out of nowhere when I made them the 51st state. He said like that was unexpected that no one's done that yet. And
That's
and
so
and it, and
good.
it works. I mean it's literally a perfect plan
Wait, I
unless
ain't gonna
the,
lie. They should have done that. They should have did that.
now now it's a perfect plan. I'm a really good president right now.
I ain't gonna lie. I'll
Now
low key
it's
vote
a
for you.
perfect plan. It will only go sideways if if North Vietnam doesn't stop their bullshit and especially if they make a deal with the USSR. But the USSR shouldn't, because now since I made South Vietnam my second, my 51st state, if they make a deal, you know, with North Vietnam to help them, that's going against our agreement. So that would really cause world war. We're not trying to do that. So from the way I'm seeing it, there should be no problem. You know, even if I take over North Vietnam, there should be no problem with the USSR because they don't have an agreement at all with the North Vietnam. So
Hey, whoever the USSR is, they suck.
they actually have a lot of people on their side. There's like 8 of them, bro. You know what I didn't like though? When we were making this agreement with to make
How
South
many
Vietnam a
countries are
51st
there?
state, uh, uh, uh,
Is it just
it's
the
just
USSR?
USSR, America, and then South and North Vietnam. That's it. And
Oh, so
then
it's only
NATO.
4 countries.
Nate, bro, I would tell NATO because NATO was on our side most of the time, you know, because USSR was the one threatening.
Oh, NATO, like Europe.
Yeah, and I would tell NATO, I'm like, help us out. And at one point, he almost did. He was like saying that, like, well, why don't you buy? Or no, he was like, I forgot. But it was like something about land. But I'm like, that doesn't resolve anything. What if
You know
like
what you
it was
should
something?
do?
It was something about like giving the USSR land for something. But then I'm like, well, then if we do that, that still doesn't resolve anything. We're just giving them land for like a momentarily
You know what you should do?
peace.
You should buy out North Korea. Not North Korea, North Vietnam,
North
like the north side. You
well,
should
the
just
thing is,
buy them out. Like you should
I
give them what
tried.
they
Yeah, I
want.
know. I tried to make deals with them. I try to cut deals. I try to make peace with them, but they're so stuck with their communism, and that's what I was talking about. I'm tired of their bullshit. They don't want to really like talk. They just don't like us, and I don't like them. So you know,
Why are y'all getting such into it? What
might
the
just
fuck?
have to take them out. And if I want to take them out, I'm
You
gonna have to
can.
quickly,
You have to do
I'm
it
gonna,
now. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to quickly do it before the USSR makes a deal with. And, I mean, they shouldn't. That shouldn't even be a problem. But the way the USSR was still kind of threatening, it's still kind of a problem. So from what I'm thinking right now, I've made very good
Leaps
decisions,
and bounds.
but but if I have to, I'm taking over North Vietnam, and I'm gonna have to go to war with the USSR if I have to, and there's no way they're winning that.
Because NATO's behind you.
Yeah, literally almost the whole world would be on my
I
side on
think you
that one.
should threaten them with that. You should threaten the USSR with that.
Bro, after the class was done, bro, the leader was calling me a bitch. Yo, bro,
Yeah.
bro, and it's this girl, bro. Her name's Lauren, and she's fat, bro. She was just looking at me and just be like, "You a bitch." All right.
Okay. Yo.
It was just crazy. One of my friends that weren't doing anything, I was like, "Well, how did you think it go?" You know, she was just there listening, and then she was just like, "I think it went good." I was like, "Did you like?" It? Or I was like, "Do you think that I'm doing good?" And she was like, "No." And I'm like, "Well, why?" And then she was like, "I don't know." Oh,
I think I
okay.
just don't like
I asked
you.
my teacher about it, and from what he said, he's like that like it's not bad what I'm doing, but it apparently isn't what the project is. Like it wasn't supposed to go like this. It was supposed to go a complete opposite direction.
Nigga, you ran a social experiment and failed. Like, it's so funny how like he was like, you weren't supposed to.
I think with the curveball was definitely making Vietnam
51st state is
the
crazy.
50.
Like, yo.
Cause it was the only way to resolve it. Because since they were my ally, and then the rule between the ally things, but even though there wasn't an agreement with the USSR, there was about to be an agreement with North with the USSR
You
and
just
them
made a
too. So it was
loophole.
just like, it's just like, well, I was just like, well, if I make them my 51st state, then they're part of America, and America and USSR have an agreement. So yeah, I found a little hole, and I did what I had to do.
I think that's a great idea.
I know. Hey, one day you might see me up there. Shit.
No, I won't.
I
No, I
might be.
won't.
Oh, oh! Someone got Fast and Furious. Oh my God.
Alright, I'm finna clip this and say government destruction. How long was that? 15 minutes?